Look at that. Jamming in here, man.
Don't think about it, just buy it. It's the last one.
Is it time? Is it time I finally take the plunge and get the ultimate vlogger drone? Successful day of shopping. We got all this stuff. Yeah, and that. Shopping's all done and the store's pretty much empty, so doing a quick Q&A. Shock Sticks FPV and Code Blue FPV both asked about flying at night. I've been posting a lot of night footage lately. It's just because it gets dark so early. I can't wait for the days to get longer. But yeah, I actually did a video on flying at night. I'll link it in the places where things are linked. Just talked a little bit about GoPro settings and that. But basically, the secret is find the brightest area you can. That's the secret, is just the brighter the parking lot, the easier it is going to be to get good footage. After that, the next most important thing, if you usually use a higher frame rate, is drop your frame rate to 30 frames a second. This essentially increases the time that each frame is exposed and lets the camera capture more light. Once you've done that, open up ProTune and let's play with the ISO. You'll have to raise your ISO, but if you set it to max, which is 1600, it's so noisy that sometimes it's not worth it. So what I like to try to do is limit the ISO to 800, find the brightest area I can fly at, and then even though the footage is a little bit darker, it's guaranteed to have the less noise, and then in post, I bring up the brightness a little bit and then crush the blacks, and that's kind of the look that I've been rocking on that. And then regarding the FPV camera itself, I actually don't use any special night camera settings. I'm like the worst about setting up that stuff. I know I could get much better performance out of the FPV camera if I would set everything up just right, but I pretty much pull out of the box, turn on WDR, wide dynamic range, I think it stands for. That basically makes the brights and the darks a little more even, so it's, how would you describe it?
What?
Wide dynamic range on the FPV camera.
I think it makes the darks not too dark and the lights not too light.
So I turn on wide dynamic range, I force to color, which means I prevent the camera from switching to black and white when it's too dark, that's the stock setting, is normally when it gets dark, the camera will switch to black and white, which then it's just harder to see, and then also there can be a little bit of a delay when it switches. So those are really the only two things I switch. Maybe I'll turn up the brightness and contrast a little bit if I'm feeling like experimenting, but for the most part, that's all I do. I'll try to include some nighttime DVR footage when I leave here. Neutron FPV was curious about how much raw footage I go through to make one vlog, and I actually have my laptop and I have a couple project files on my desktop, so let me check on that. Let's see, for my New York video, I did 45.5 gigabytes of footage. On my How to Matty Flip video, that was 28.25 gigabytes. And then last time I went to Atlanta and just filmed a bunch of vlogs, I generated 78.22 gigabytes for that whole trip, and I made 3 or 4. I guess I'd say on average, I create about 30 gigabytes worth of footage and then go through that to make a video. I usually shoot for about 10 minutes of video. When I upload, it's more like 1 gigabyte. A bunch of you guys called me out because the last time I did this, I walked through everything I put in my bag and I forgot to show how I take props with me. And that's because I don't crash. I'm kidding. I crash all the time. I take a bunch of props with me. There's not really a great way to put it in the bag though, so I'll just have a loose plastic grocery bag full of props stuff. Drew Little asks, what batteries do I run? Nice thing about doing this here is I can show you brand new batteries. My two favorite batteries are this Pulse 4-cell high discharge, Tattoo 4-cell high discharge. And then I hate to hype up a premium product, but at some point I tried these Tattoo R lines and I gotta admit, they're really good. I really like these. What's the cost difference between an R line and a non-R line?
The regular
This is like 28. This is like $28, $30-ish. And the R line.
37, but that's for a 95C.
$37-ish for an R line 95C. Is it worth the $7? I don't know if it's that much better, but I kind of like it. They do look pretty. Like they're all gold. Come on, gold. It's got to be worth it, right? So on the topic of batteries, did just want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on all this talk about C ratings and what's a good performing battery. And here's my thought. If you buy a Turnigy battery that's rated for like 25C, the current that our race drones demand is just, it's gonna destroy that battery. So while these batteries that are sold to us with these like crazy high C ratings, like 75C or 95C, does it actually deliver that rating? Highly unlikely. I doubt it. I essentially look at it as there's high discharge batteries and there's non-high discharge batteries. And if it's got a rating like 15 or 25 or 35, it's probably not going to keep up with a race drone. And if it's got a rating like 65 or 50 or 75 or 90 or some crazy high number, that's what you want to get, even though that number is kind of bullshit. So what's more important is like a good reputable brand, because I have tried batteries that, yeah, they say, oh, 75C, right? And it either doesn't give you the performance or it just doesn't last long. I think that's the biggest problem with batteries is longevity. How many cycles can you go through before it starts to like lose that oomph and it gets all puffy and squishy, and it's like, I haven't tried the whole market of batteries that are out there, so I'm not like the most knowledgeable on this. So those are just the batteries I like, and I'll link and stuff. Wine Davies, aka Bolt, says, Drib, I love your style, your look, media, just thanks for the nice words. But he's asking, when I choose a location, do I do it based on the media content or somewhere that I want to fly? I really liked this question, because it's kind of something I struggle with a little bit, actually. And I've been asked versions of this before, and I've tried to explain it, but I think I've got an answer. Basically, flying with the intent to create a little video, a vlog, it does change how I approach where and how much I want to fly. And sometimes it does hold me back because I have to edit or I have to shoot this or that concept, so I don't get to fly as much as I'd want. But conversely, it helps me fly other times because it means I've got to fly for this video. So where some days having to make a vlog gets in the way of flying, other days it forces me to get out and fly, so it kind of cancels each other out. And then as far as like specific locations go, when I make these vlogs, I want to have a good variety of cool spots and keep things interesting. So if I wasn't making these videos, I might go to the park down the street from me more often, but because I'm making these videos, I'm always trying to think, where's a new interesting place I can go to get new interesting footage. And while that's kind of a pain, I love the creative challenge. And I like that it pushes me to be more often flying different things and trying new things. And I think it's helped me develop. So even though sometimes it's a pain and it would be nice to just go to a park I'm familiar, trade-offs, right? So, all right, let's get out of here. All right, I think I found myself a cool looking night spot that's got pretty good lighting. There are these like snow flurries coming down, so maybe that'll look interesting. Anyways, I'm just gonna show you guys a quick clip with some DVR footage in the corner. So hopefully this helps with your nighttime flying.